Good morning, Brew Daily Show. I'm Neal Freyman.
And I'm Toby Howell.
Today, it's tacos for breakfast as Trump backs off Greenland tariff threats.
Then, is Elon Musk really going to buy Ryanair? It's Thursday, January 22nd. Let's ride.
This winter, America is turning into a nation of monks. Not only is dry January in full swing, but a new, even more hardcore test of discipline has surged in popularity: No Buy January. The Wall Street Journal notes that many younger people, inspired by social media, have taken a pledge to avoid purchasing anything that's not essential, things like clothes or electronics, for the 31 days of January. It's not necessarily new, but it is far more mainstream than before. Google searches for No Buy January hit a 5-year high this December, according to PwC, and a survey by NerdWallet found more than one quarter have tried No Spend January, with 12% hopping on the trend in 2026. Toby, what do you think is easy for you? Dry January or No Buy January?
See, I'm more of a financially crippling February kind of guy, a multi-buy March, an affluent April, a massive debt May kind of guy. In reality, I do love any January challenge. So for the last 8 or 9 days of the year, I'm not buying anything either, in solidarity with my no-buy brethren. Of the month. So I can not buy something for 8 days, I think. And now a word from our sponsor, Indeed. Neal, I'm finally adopting AI.
Sudden change of heart around technology?
Nope. AI is the name of a very mean kitten I found outside my apartment.
Well, in less bitey news, we're here at the World Economic Forum in Davos this week, and Indeed is here too, diving into things like how AI is transforming jobs, skills, and employer adoption. Indeed will be sharing real-time insights like that into the global labor market and how leaders can navigate the workforce challenges and opportunities ahead.
Indeed's helping business leaders and hiring professionals dive into these perspectives through Indeed's Global Labor Market and Workforce Trends Report.
This report also includes where job opportunities are growing, where skill shortages and mismatches could impact business performance, and how immigration patterns are shaping workforce capacity.
Together, these insights help leaders prepare for what's next and make better workforce decisions grounded in real-time data. Learn more at Indeed.com/Davos. That's Indeed.com/Davos. There's something about some fresh alpine air that makes cooler heads prevail. Trump's aspirations to acquire Greenland took a chill pill in Davos as he announced that he had reached a framework of a future deal for Greenland with NATO's head at the World Economic Forum. That sound you hear is Wall Street breathing a huge sigh of relief because tacos are back on the menu. The taco trade, aka Trump always chickens out, roared back to life. The announcement of the handshake agreement helped markets climb out of the dip they experienced earlier in the week that was fueled by fears of growing EU and US tension and the threat of new tariffs on 7 European countries. Think back to Tuesday. Europe was readying its so-called tariff bazooka for the retaliatory punch of blocking US goods and services from the lucrative EU market, while US bonds were spiking and the dollar was falling. But post-Greenland announcement, the 10-year U.S. bond yield chilled out a little, the dollar index jumped, and stocks made a nice recovery. Neal, zooming out a little bit, Greenland was certainly a major theme at Davos this year, but far from the only one. We also had Mark Carney, Canada's PM, talking about the end of rules-based order, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink warning of AI's power to increase wealth inequality, and Jamie Dimon railing against a proposed 10% cap on credit card interest rates. But let's start back at this handshake deal. What details do we even have about it?
Yeah, we have very few details. It's certainly a concept of a framework of a deal that will be negotiated in the future. That said, there are a few rumors that have filtered out of these officials. As reported by the New York Times, it seems like these discussions will center around Denmark potentially giving the U.S. sovereignty over small pockets of Greenland where the U.S. could build military bases. There's a model for this. The UK has some bases in Cyprus that are regarded as British territory, so look out for that. I should mention that Space Force already has a base in Greenland. There also is discussions going to be about Greenland's mineral resources because in addition to the national security implications of this region of the Arctic, Trump also wants access to the rare earth minerals that are potentially untapped in Greenland. We just don't know a lot about them because it's very inhospitable territory. But potentially these negotiations could include the U.S. receiving a right of first refusal on investments in Greenland's mineral resources. Trump said he's going to release the details soon. So, of course, who knows what the actual details would be. But I want to zoom out to broader U.S.-EU tensions here. and it still seems like they are quite high. That's been a theme at Davos. Howard Lutnick, who's the Commerce Secretary, was giving a speech at the USA House, which has been the hot spot here in Davos this week. And Christine Lagarde, who's the European Central Bank president, was there. And Howard Lutnick just starts bashing Europe's economic policies and just going in on Europe. And apparently she just got up and left. And so that's maybe the distillation of how things are going between the United States and Europe this week.
That's an awkward dinner. I can't remember the last dinner I got up and left from. But perhaps the most talked about speech at Davos wasn't even Trump's speech yesterday. It was Canadians PM Mark Carney, who overall kind of was the topic du jour outside of Trump. The overall vibe that we're living through right now, according to Carney, is an end of an era, the end of American hegemony. He called the current phase a rupture and went on to say, every day we're reminded that we live in an era of great power rivalry, that the strong can do what they can and the weak must suffer what they must. The allusion to this great power rivalry is a U.S.-China feud. And Carney also inserted Canada into the middle of that recently. Canada and China struck an initial deal back on Friday that will slash tariffs on electric vehicles as both of the countries promise to tear down their trade barriers. So Canada is cozying up to China right as the world is rupturing from the US. So amongst everything else going on here, it looks like Carney has found a way to make probably the second most headlines after Trump.
Yeah, he said the middle powers must act together because if we're not on the table, we're on the menu. Maybe that's not a dinner you get up from. Let's talk about Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon is the JP Morgan CEO, biggest bank in the United States. He gave a talk. He was on a panel and said some very newsy things. He was asked particularly about this 10% interest rate cap on credit cards that Trump has proposed. And Dimon's pretty much refrained from criticizing Trump, but he did call this 10% cap on interest rates an economic disaster. He said that the cap would potentially strip credit from 80% of Americans. He said, my bank is going to be doing just fine. Like, we'll weather the storm. We have a ton of money. Same with other Wall Street banks, but it really will hit Main Street, restaurants, retailers, travel companies, and municipalities. He said people will miss their water payments. He did suggest the idea, kind of tongue-in-cheek, that they should try out this experiment in Vermont and Massachusetts and see how it goes. Those two states are helmed at the senator position by, you have Bernie Sanders in Vermont and Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts. Those are the two senators that have really floated this idea. It shows that the progressive wing and President Trump have similar populist economic policies.
And then finally, returning to America for a second, another thing that may be boosting some market confidence is the fact that the Supreme Court on Wednesday appeared likely to block Trump's from immediately firing the Democrat-appointed Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve Board. That's been something that's been percolating in the background here because basically people are afraid that this shows Trump is exerting a greater influence over the central bank that guides the economy. And the fact that the Supreme Court justices were pretty unanimously skeptical of this gave markets another little boost coming into this morning because it does look like central bank integrity is being upheld at the highest court.
Yeah, it looks like Lisa Cook will keep her job for now. Moving on to more prosaic matters. We've got a good old CEO beef. The corporate bosses in question, Elon Musk and Michael O'Leary, the Irishman who leads Ryanair, Europe's largest budget airline. These two started going at it last week when O'Leary said that his airline would not install Elon's Starlink Wi-Fi on its fleet of planes because the antenna you need to beam Wi-Fi to passengers would increase drag and cost Ryanair an extra $250 million in fuel costs a year. Elon could not let this go, saying O'Leary was misinformed. Then O'Leary went all in, saying that Musk knows nothing about flight or drag and called his X platform a cesspit. The floodgates were open. Musk called O'Leary an utter idiot and urged for his firing. After a few more barbs of each of these guys calling each other idiots, Musk polled his Twitter followers whether he should buy Ryanair so that he could sack O'Leary. TBD on whether a takeover offer will come. Toby, we're talking about two of the most outspoken, brash CEOs in the game right now, Elon and O'Leary, who once floated the idea of selling standing seats on his planes. Their social media spat may seem a little silly, but ever the marketer, O'Leary has managed to turn this free publicity into business gold.
Yeah, one thing here to note is that Ryanair's strategy kind of revolves around trolling. They are an extremely discount European air. They sell tickets for $20 one way. Their flights are about an hour on average sometimes. And so the customer base kind of understands this gimmick that they don't really care about their customers and they have this very tongue-in-cheek nature on social media. I'm not sure if Elon actually knows that. Some people are saying, no, he's totally in on the joke. Other people are saying, absolutely not. He's taking this very seriously. Either way, it has been good for business. That's been the underlying thing here for O'Leary. He said at a press conference on Wednesday that it is very good for our bookings. They rolled out this big idiot seat sale in recent days. And he says, we love these PR spats that drive bookings on Ryanair. So the bottom line is getting a boost from these barbs flying back and forth on X.
Yeah, they launched this big idiot seat sale. They're offering 100,000 seats at about $20 a pop. And in the same press conference, he said that bookings have risen 2% to 3% in the aftermath of the social media spat between he and Elon Musk. So he said, O'Leary said, I'm very happy to continue the controversy. If it helps to boost Ryanair sales, you can insult me all day, any day.
Here's the deal, though. It's a big deal for Tesla shareholders, again, because they've been through this rodeo before where Elon allegedly is joking about buying something on Twitter. In that case, it was literally about joking that he was going to buy Twitter itself. And then he actually did follow through on it. So I think people are getting like PTSD flashbacks. Tesla shareholders are going, not again, not another side quest of him joking about buying a company and then maybe actually following through on it. There are some rules about who can actually buy a European airline, though. They have to. Airlines based in the EU must be majority owned by someone from EU countries or some other European countries. So there might be some regulatory hurdles to Elon actually following through on his joking polls. But if I'm a Tesla shareholder, I'm going, gosh, dang it again. Can you just focus in, lock in for a little bit? Don't joke about buying any other airlines. Moving on, despite pioneering the very concept of e-commerce, Amazon wants to turn back the clock to the days of brick and mortar retail. And its latest bet to find a winning store format is its biggest one yet. The Everything Store is bringing a massive big box store to Orland Park, Illinois, after convincing the city's board of trustees in a vote this past week. But just calling this a big box store feels like a gross understatement. This place is going to be gargantuan. The site sprawls over 35 acres. The store itself will be 230,000 square feet. That dwarfs competitors in the space, with the average Walmart store clocking in at just 173,000 square feet. It is big enough to fit nearly 2 average Costco-sized stores inside. Now, much like what your ex told you, size doesn't matter. It's what's on the inside that counts. And then inside those giant walls, Amazon is creating a Frankenstein's monster. The space will be 50% retail and 50% fulfillment. The front half will contain your groceries, general merch like diapers and paper towels, and even some prepared food made on site. The back half will be what Amazon does best, fulfillment for online and in-store orders. It hopes that by smooshing together retail and fulfillment and dotting the aisle with in-store kiosks for online ordering, it will be able to combine its digital prowess and normal shopping in a way that other brands can't pull off. Neal, this feels like a very Amazon-y store.
Well, Amazon has just tried just about everything when it comes to brick and mortar retail. They've launched physical bookstores. They've launched shopping mall kiosks. They've done apparel stores. They've done convenience stores. They even had their own Amazon supermarket chain. None of it has worked. Amazon Go convenience stores, there's still a few of them left. There's 14 locations nationwide, but that's less than half of the amount that they had in 2023. So this is just another attempt. They're saying, okay, we've tried everything. Why don't we just do the biggest concept yet? And maybe that would be the best opportunity because, look, we are a mass market retailer on our website. We sell everything. These other stores have been maybe a little more niche or catered to a particular clientele. Why don't we just basically build our own Walmart and see what happens?
I'm very interested about this digital and physical integration that they're trying to do here because these in-store kiosks allow you to basically access Amazon's e-commerce platform while you're walking around. So maybe you see this lovely sweater in front of you, but you don't really like the color that's on display in the physical store.
The one I'm wearing right now?
It looks great on you, Neal. It really brings out the color of your eyes. But if you wanted a different sweater, you can go to the kiosk, you order a different one, and then someone from the back brings it out and fulfills it right then. Also, maybe you're looking at dog food bags. I don't really want to lug this big bag to my car. You can have someone do curbside fulfillment from the back half of the store again. So it's very fascinating how they are trying to maximize convenience at every level both the convenience of the delivery platform that everyone loves and the fact that they can have that convenience happen in a physical retail location now. That's why I called it an Amazon-y product, because I don't know if any other stores are kind of combining them in the same way that they are.
My question is, why does Amazon keep trying this? They failed so many times. Why do they care so much about getting into physical retail? And even though a lot of us all shop online all the time, in-store purchases account for still more than 80% of retail sales in the United States. So that's so much money being left on the table for Amazon as just being an e-commerce player. And then secondly, Amazon's customers regularly shop at competing big box retailers. So if they can convert those customers from Walmart, Costco, Target into going to an Amazon store, then that's a huge opportunity as well. Consumer intelligence research partners found that 83% of Amazon customers have shopped at Walmart, and then basically all of Amazon customers buy groceries elsewhere. So there's gonna be a huge grocery component, there's gonna be a huge general merchandise component, and they're hoping, somehow, I'm not exactly sure, it's all going to come down to execution, is that they're trying to there's Walmart right down the road here in suburban Chicago, and there's a Trader Joe's, there's all these other big box stores. They're going to have to try to get those customers to go to Amazon for some reason, and they're going to, we'll see the design of the store and see sort of what compelling things that they can do. They're obviously going to leverage data from Amazon Prime and try to do all these deals for Prime members, but I really think it's going to come all down to execution.
Field trip to Orland Park in our future, perhaps. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back with Neal's numbers right after this. Time for our Morning Brew Daily Davos update with Lightspeed. We are joined by Lightspeed co-founder and partner Ravi Matra.
Ravi, we've spoken to a number of founders in the Lightspeed portfolio. When you're looking at a startup to invest in, what's the fastest way you separate signal from noise?
We look for founders who think about what we call the super cycle or the trend line and not the state of the technology today. AI intelligence is evolving and improving so rapidly, and that relates to some of the underlying exponential trends in the drop of cost of compute. Inference cost has gone down by something like 100x in the last year. The performance of AI computing, the ability at 1/3 of the cost this year versus last year to produce the same level of intelligence. These things really mean that founders have to be focused on where the intelligence technology is going and not where it is today in the context of their idea. And if that doesn't compile in a way that we think is robust, we will not proceed.
Thank you, Ravi. Super cycle. I'm going to steal that. Morning Brew Daily is live from Davos all week in partnership with Lightspeed.
And be sure to head to our YouTube channel for special interviews with Lightspeed founders all week. We just posted one with the co-founder and CEO of K2 Space, Karan Kunjar, who is trying to build the biggest space satellites in history. Pretty crazy. Keep an eye out as we'll be posting more throughout the World Economic Forum. Welcome to Neal's Numbers, the segment where I share 3 stats from the week's news that will keep you warm and cozy ahead of this winter storm. For my first number, there's an industry experiencing a shocking revival, and trust me, there's no way you're going to guess what it is. Chimney sweeps. I'm so glad Dick Van Dyke is still alive to see this. According to the New York Times, England's National Association of Chimney Sweeps has grown its membership to about 750 today from about 595 years ago. Multiple people are booking training courses per day, and there's 40 women members as well. The reason why chimney sweeps are in demand is that people are having more open fires in their home, and the British government recommends chimneys be professionally swept once a year to limit air pollution. The reason why people are having more open fires are varied. The Times says that higher energy prices, the increasing use of wood-burning stoves, and concerns around a hostile state like Russia taking out the electric grid have all juiced their popularity, and business is booming if you're in the chimney sweep business. For H. Firkins and Sons, which has been sweeping chimneys since the 19th century, they get about 70 to 80 calls a day in the winter months. Toby, I'm not sure how to say this. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
Chim chim cheree, indeed. This is not the chimney sweeping of old, though. You're probably imagining someone very soot covered, climbing up, or maybe even like the young orphan boys that used to do this back in the day. That is not what chimney sweeping looks like in the modern era. They use tools. Like they have CCTV cameras. They have drones that can help with the chimney sweeping. They have industrial vacuum cleaners these days. Like it's not just using a duster and just hoping for the best. So that is part of the reason too why maybe this industry is seeking a revival, is because it's a lot easier than it was back in the day. I would want to be a chimney sweep, though, for the crazy discoveries that happen, because chimneys are not a place that you are often cleaning or looking into. And so sometimes these sweeps report finding some very juicy stuff, love letters between people, star-crossed lovers. They found human remains in some cases. Revolvers, guns are stashed up there. So just from that perspective, a curiosity perspective, I would want to get nosy and see what people are stashing in their chimneys.
All right, for my next number, I'll introduce you to a piece of infrastructure that saved countless lives, netting alongside the Golden Gate Bridge. As the New York Times reported, for decades, there had been an average of 30 suicides each year from people jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. In the second half of 2025, there were 0, almost certainly a record low for a bridge that was constructed nearly 100 years ago. For this stunning decrease, there's only one thing to thank: a miles-long series of nets, or really stainless steel cables, that sit 20 feet below public walkways on both sides of the Golden Gate. The project traces back to 2006, when family members of people who jumped from the bridge began brainstorming methods about ways to limit suicides. They eventually landed on the net concept, which was borrowed from Bern, Switzerland. This being San Francisco, the netting was not built in a day or even 5 years. According to the Times, construction took 7 years from 2018 to 2025, meaning that it took longer to rig up the netting than the bridge itself, which was built in about 4 years. Costs ballooned too, from an initial estimate of $76 million to $224 million. Now that it's finally up, though, the netting appears to be working as intended.
Yeah, there's this also invisible effect that happens when you install netting too, which is people who maybe arrive at the bridge, see their nets, and then change their mind. And that changing of the mind in the moment does massive amounts for people's life expectancy going forward. There's this 1978 study from a UC Berkeley professor that followed 515 people who were going to the bridge to intend to jump, decided not to, or were persuaded not to, and 94 were still alive or died of natural causes many years later. So if you can do something to deter that initial moment, it does lead to a much longer lifespan. So absolutely a successful infrastructure project when it comes to saving lives and keeping people alive for many years after.
For my final number, I'm going to ask you a question. What feels further back in time to you, 30 years ago or 1996? The answer for most of you, according to new research, is 30 years ago, known as the year length effect, and there are big implications for marketers and even policymakers. A new study from the UBC Sauder School of Business sought to determine whether people perceive time differently when expressed as a length or as a calendar year. And the answer is yes, very much. Where age is valued, people have more favorable attitudes when time is described by length. On the other hand, if you're trying to minimize how old something feels, say, for an item of clothing, then you're better off describing it from X year. Sellers on Craigslist earned about 17% more when they described their items in terms of a year rather than how old it was. The study says that marketers could use this insight into our easily manipulated brains to become better at their jobs. At the same time, governments and policymakers could use these insights to also drive better outcomes for things like saving for retirement or the consequences of climate change. Toby, this was one of the most interesting things I've heard since 2023. I mean, 3 years ago.
Yeah. When did we start this podcast? Was it 3 years ago or 2023? I'm trying to figure out which applies better to make us seem older and wiser than we are. The reason why this works is because humans perceive numbers differently than you would expect. We actually perceive numbers logarithmically, not linearly. So the jump between higher numbers feels bigger than the jump between smaller numbers. So for instance, the difference between 11 and 12 feels bigger than the difference between 2 and 3. So that weird kind of time warping effect that occurs is why marketers should plug into this idea. So just to reiterate what the general rule is, when age adds value, you use length framing, like years old. When age reduces value, when you're selling clothes online, use the year framing, and you might be able to make a few extra bucks here and there.
Like if I want to seem older, I would say I'm 34 years old. If I wanted to seem younger, I would say I was born in 1991.
You seem perfect just the way you are, Neal. Now let's sprint to the finish with some final headlines. If you've been itching for a way to work cattywampus into your daily life more frequently, boy, do I have the game for you. Yesterday marks the debut of the New York Times' newest game, Crossplay. Crossplay is Scrabble. Let's just get that out of the way quickly. When the Times Games Division announced a new game in an Instagram post, every single comment was, so it's Scrabble? The actual board and rules have some slight tweaks, but TechCrunch writer Amanda Sieberling noted that these must have been done for legal reasons and hardly noticed them as she played. Despite copying Scrabble, this game does make history for the New York Times because, believe it or not, it's the first game you can play against a friend within their ecosystem. That ecosystem is thriving too. Wordle was played 4.2 billion times last year, and users spent more time in the games app than the actual news app, according to investor data. Neal, I am hitting you with insalubrious as soon as I challenge you.
I do not like playing Scrabble with you. It's not fun. You don't do the long words, you do the two-letter words that start with X and Q, and it's just, frankly, not so fun. But let's talk about the New York Times. It's time to start calling them a mobile games giant. This is their 11th game. They have 12.33 million subscribers to the New York Times more broadly as of September, but half of them do the $30 a month package that includes all of their products, not just the journalism, but the games and the cooking too. I mean, this is an absolute behemoth on the games front. Every single person I know personally plays at least one New York Times game, whether it's the crossword, the mini, spelling bee, and now crossplay. There's connections. Everybody's got Wordle. Everybody's got their own one. And them buying Wordle for $1 million a couple years ago, or 2021. It depends on how long you want to perceive it. It seems to be a stroke of genius. And what basically it does is subsidize their journalism. Times now has about 3,000 journalists on staff. It's most ever, more than twice what they'd had a decade ago. So just an incredible business. I don't know how intentional it was at the beginning. I mean, they've had crosswords for forever, but once they put it on this app, it just absolutely skyrocketed. And, every media company is now trying to copy this. Morning Brew has a big game. Just plug in our games as well. We do a bunch of fun games here at Morning Brew. Finally, have you been in a hotel room recently and thought, gee, this toilet could use a little more of a barrier with the rest of the room? It's not just you. Hotel bathroom doors are becoming somewhat of an endangered species. According to the Wall Street Journal, a good chunk of mid-priced hotels have been scrapping their bathroom doors in a bid to cut costs, replacing the sealed-off variety with sliding barn doors, strategically placed walls, curtains, or sometimes nothing at all. It's got many customers frustrated and airing their grievances on social media. As one viral post put it, this door is designed to either move your relationship forward or end it. Some are fighting back. Digital marketer Sadie Lowell started the Bring Back Doors campaign, surveying hundreds of hotels about their bathroom door setup. She listed more than 500 hotels in the no bathroom door camp. Toby, is this the end of Western civilization?
It is horrible in every way that you think about. No one wants to see that. No one wants to hear that. And it's just, if someone wakes up earlier to go to the bathroom, like the light pops on, it's awful for consumers. So why are hotels doing it? It saves them money. In the eyes of a hotel chain, a door can be a money pit because sometimes if you close a door, you forget that you left the light on. That leads to higher electricity bills. You got to replace the light bulbs. Concrete and wood are expensive. Like every single part of a door costs money when you multiply it by how many rooms are in a hotel chain. So it's just horrific to think about. I recently went to a hotel that was like that. And
wait, what did it have?
It had nothing. It literally had nothing. And I'm literally just like, look away. Like, please look away. No one needs to see anything that's going on.
But you're still
here.
getting married? The wedding's still on?
The wedding is still on.
All right, that is all the time we have. Thanks so much for starting your morning with us and have a wonderful Thursday. If you want to get in touch, send an email to morningbrewdaily@morningbrew.com or DM us on Instagram @MBDailyShow. Let's roll the credits. Emily Milliron is our executive producer. Raymond Liu is our producer. Our associate producers are Olivia Graham and Olivia Lake. Big shout out to our AV team here in Switzerland, Mood Studios. Hair and Makeup is doing No Show Up to Work January. Devin Emery is our president, and our show is a production of Morning Brew.
Great show today, Neal. Let's run it back tomorrow.